Welcome back to the Bookie in the Beard. My name's Dylan. I am the bookie, and today Alex is unable to join us once again due to a scheduling conflict, but the show must go on. So from now on, I'm basically going to be doing these podcasts on the weekend just for convenience of my schedule, and I'm sure a lot of yours as well. Do that, considering that we don't have the NFL season going on anymore, there's no need to put them out on Thursdays like we were. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. I just kind of want to talk a little bit about the Super Bowl here. We saw Tom get his seventh. A lot of people were trying to figure out if he was the GOAT over Jordan or not. I still think Jordan's the GOAT because he is just has this unbelievable edge mentally that I admire. So that's why Jordan will always be number one in my book. But shout out to Tom. Congrats on getting another one, beating Pat Mahomes. It just looked like the offensive line was very poor for the Chiefs this past Sunday. So that's kind of why we saw him scrambling around a lot and laying out and making a pass that his receiver dropped in the end zone, which, I mean, at the end of the day, falls on the receiver. I mean, Pat Mahomes couldn't have put it any better out there for him. I still think Pat Mahomes will have a good career. Will he be the GOAT or not? Probably not, considering he has lost to Tom. But if he does come back the next year and beat Tom in the Super Bowl, then you kind of give him a pass there and go from there on just who has the most rings and most success. But Pat Mahomes, I still think will have a good career. But a couple bets kind of want to talk about from the Super Bowl was the streaker bet. I think it was like plus 750, and the guy himself put like 50 grand on it or something like that to win. I don't know. It was a lot of money though, but at the end of the day, he got out there, ran around, went to prison, had the $1,000 bail fine, and now I think they're trying to take away his money because you kind of bet on yourself there, and it's kind of not fair to the odds. But uh, that's beside the point. But the other bet I kind of want to talk about was the heads or tails uh, coin flip. We saw that it didn't really work out for me betting tails. Shout out to Alex for picking heads there. I know Pat McAfee lost on the coin flip there, being uh, the heads instead of the tails like he predicted. But anyway, shout out to Pat McAfee for hitting on another bet, $500 for 25 grand. It was Gronk, AB, and Leonard Fournette anytime touchdown, all three of them. 500 to win 25 grand. Shout out to you, Pat, building that money that you already have. But yeah, that pretty much wraps it up for what I wanted to talk about the Super Bowl. I mean, just we saw Tom just really kind of dominate the game, and the defense really showed up for Tampa Bay, kind of as I predicted. But I just couldn't get over the fact that the Chiefs win football games, which is why I picked them to win. But I did think it was going to be a closer game than it was. But I mean, whenever you're going up against the goat, it's hard to uh, beat him. So that's kind of what I thought about that game there. But I think Pat Mahomes and Tom Brady are going to have some good careers, even though Tom is at the end of it. I still think he can get to another Super Bowl or possibly even two before he retires and maybe even win one. So, um, yeah, that pretty much wraps up for that. Just keeping it going here on the NFL, though, we saw that JJ Watt just got released. There's a couple landing spots that people are saying he could go to. Pittsburgh, I'm not really liking that one. They're kind of stacked on defense. They don't really need any more. Plus, they don't really have the money to add to a good defense when their offense is a little lackluster, which is why I don't think he's going to be going there. Green Bay, I mean, they could need him, but I just don't see it happening. Uh, I know he's a cheesehead at heart, being from Wisconsin, but I just I just don't see that working out for him. Packers just uh, I mean, we saw it this past year. They don't really know what to do in the off season. They just know to give the ball to Aaron Rodgers out there and let him sling it around the field. But a place that I do like for JJ Watt to go and get a ring is Tampa Bay. I think that Ndamukong Suh could retire here very soon, and JJ Watt could go in and fill that role on the defense and go kind of chase that ring, take a little bit less money. So I like Tampa Bay as a potential landing spot for him, but I'd be happy if he got went to the Packers. So it's not out of the realm of possibility, but could happen. But anyway, moving on. I just kind of want to talk about golf here a little bit. I know my boy here that I have shown on the screen, Jordan Spieth, is playing very well. He's in contention for the first time and in what seems like 5, 6 years, but I hope that he is able to pull this one off at Pebble. So I'm rooting for my boy Jordan here. I think I saw him right when I started recording this about 3 o'clock Central Time that he was in third or fourth, a couple shots back of the lead. So let's hope for Jordan to get a dub here. By the time you guys listen to this, you will, I'm sure, have already figured out who won. But another thing, just keeping on with golf here, we saw at Pebble that there was quite an interesting par made by Francesco Molinari, to say the least. We saw that he topped the ball, which is a very rare thing to happen on the PGA Tour, even rare in college and high school, in my opinion. But it happens to the best of us, and we saw that he was able to make a heck of a comeback. So shout out to Francesco Molinari for that, making that par. And next thing I kind of want to talk about would be just the NBA here. James Harden looking like John Stockton on the Nets here, getting 16 assists against the Warriors, I think, roughly around that this past game they played against them. And we saw KD return to Oakland for the first time since the injury he had. So it was good to see him, Draymond, Steph catch up, do all that good stuff there. And James Harden right now is just playing phenomenal basketball, especially when it comes to assists. I think he's had 11 games this season with 10 plus assists, which is ridiculous and unheard of, I feel like, for James Harden, considering we know him as a dribble, 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 shoot kind of player. Uh, and yeah, that's kind of what we saw, him just dishing the rock out to everyone on the floor, which is how the Nets got a big dub there, in my opinion. And we see just a lot of mediocre basketball teams this year. I just watched the Wizards beat the Celtics, and the Celtics lost to the Pistons the other night. Now they're 500. Pacers are about 500. I mean, the whole NBA seems to be about 500 right now, and it's kind of weird to see. But one team that we have seen play very well is the Jazz. They're just a well-rounded basketball team right now. I've always thought they were, and I still think they are. And we see that Bogdanovich, that pickup from the Pacers a couple years ago, was a good pickup. Donovan Mitchell's playing well. Rudy Gobert's playing well, getting those blocks. Miles Turner, do still believe, is the leader in blocks in the NBA. Hopefully, he can make an All-Star team this year. But usually, that's only offensive players that make that, because defense is frowned upon in All-Star games, essentially. But yeah, and Joe Ingles wanted to give a shout out to the Jazz playing well. And then just to wrap it up here this week, we'll do bums of the week. So just going to do three this week. But Francesco Molinari with the top ball off the tee, but he did make the par, which is why he's not number one. But um, yeah, number two would be the streaker. Although that he did make a lot of money, he did end up going to jail for that. So he's number two. And then the Chiefs' offensive line and the Chiefs' receivers. kind of going to give a pass to the Chiefs receivers, but the offensive line cannot get a pass. Pat Mahomes was pressured way too much all week, and it's or all game rather, and you just can't have that in the Super Bowl. You got to be better than that. We saw that the loss of Eric Fisher was big, and I forget the name of the guy, but he did go, I think, overseas to be a doctor. So shout out to him. But that's definitely what they can improve on in the draft this year would be that offensive line. So look for that to happen. And yeah, that pretty much wraps up for Bums of the Week and the podcast this week. I know we mentioned that we're going to be doing a break here soon. So look out for that. But we are going to be doing podcasts on the weekends now, just as convenience for my schedule and everyone else's as well, so that they can listen on the weekends. But it's just going to be easier for me at the end of the day. And yeah, thanks for understanding and sticking with me this whole time. I think we're in week 14 or 15 now, and we will get back after this next weekend. We're going to take a break there, and we'll be back with season 2 of The Bookie and the Beard.